A new approach to conservation land wasn't the only announcement at the National Party's conference over the weekend. It was also revealed our top trade diplomat is jetting off to the United States in response to Trump's 15% tariff hike for New Zealand. Trade Negotiations Minister Todd McClay will also be travelling there. Adam Pearse is the New Zealand Herald Deputy Political Editor. He's with us from Wellington, but was at the conference at the weekend. Adam, good morning.
Morning.
This trade mission, let's start with this story this morning because it's the big one. We are now sending diplomats there. We're flying people in. We were happy with 10%. Now we are apparently very alarmed at 15%. What's going on?
Well, I think it was all a bit of a surprise. 10% was obviously the forecasted rate that we were looking at, and then lo and behold, it was 15%. And you've seen the reaction. Prime Minister Christopher Luxon, I mean, you'll be talking to him later on, but he's describing that move as blunt and rather late. And I think that probably tells you all you need to know about how expected or not expected that was. So as you say, we've got our top trade diplomat, Vangelis Vitalis, heading off. He was on a plane yesterday. We've got Todd McClay, the trade minister. He's off in a couple of weeks to talk to his trade counterpart, Jamison Greer, over in the US. And that was an invite. He's saying he's quite happy that he's been able to get that so soon. Interesting to me, I mean, well, whether there's going to be much change, if you're a betting man, I don't know if you'd be betting a hell of a lot. You know, President Trump, he's made this decision. He does what he wants to do. You know, he's got to focus on the US. Interesting to see if there will be some carve-outs for specific products. There seems to be the suggestion that products that the US doesn't have a lot of, say beef, you know, New Zealand exporters, we've got a lot of beef and it's going pretty well at the moment. So interesting to see if they're able to get any clarification as to whether there are some exemptions in that space.
It's a bit embarrassing for the government at this point, isn't it? Because you've got Australia, you've got Argentina, you've got Uruguay. These guys who we all compete with for American consumers are at a lower rate than us right now.
Well, this is the thing, and it seems to be the decision has been made. If you are selling more to the US than you are buying, 15% is the base. And now New Zealand, you know, we're not going to buy as much to from the US than we're going to sell. That's just the nature of the beast. So whether, like I say, whether there's going to be much movement, it's hard to say.
Also, our surplus, Adam, is what, $500 million at the moment, which is a drop in the ocean to the Yanks. But also, if you look at our average over a number of years, we basically buy as much from them as we sell to them on average. So it's just curious that this is they take 1 year, and if you're in surplus, well, look out because you'll be stung.
Well, yeah, but I mean, this is what he wants to do. This is the president's priority, and you know, the nature of the beast is we're just going to have to take it, and that will be the case that Todd McClay will be putting to his trade counterpart, and this is the case that the likes of the foreign minister has also put forward, that it's not going to make much of a difference. Whether the US is listening, we'll have to wait and see.
Adam, let's talk about the conference at the weekend. You were there, you saw it all. Luxon's always an Energizer bunny, so you'll never see him looking, like he's tired. But what's the vibe you're picking up here? What's the sense as we are, halfway through the term?
Oh, look, the members are pretty happy. Obviously, you're in government, and it's largely always good when you're in government. They can recognise that the gains are in education and crime, areas where the party has been pretty dominant in respect to its coalition partners. You've got Education Minister Erica Stanford, Justice Minister, Police Minister. They're all national ministers. However, as you noted at the top of the show, it's all about the cost of living at the moment, and you could feel in the room that there is a recognition of the pain that's happening at the moment. I think there was probably more talk about blaming the opposition than I perhaps expected. There's only so much time that you have after becoming a new government that you can blame the opposition. And, the Prime Minister was quite keen to make it clear that they've only had about 18 months in government. But, if you look at it, there's not much more than a year until the next election, until they go to the polls again. And so that argument about, well, the opposition put the car in the ditch, as the Prime Minister likes to say, that's going to get old pretty soon, and they're going to have to come up with a new line. So whether the electorate's going to respond to that, we'll have to see.
Adam, what about Sylvia Wood? This is the National Party president coming out and saying that Christopher Luxon, I want to get the words right here, his humanity isn't as visible to voters as it could be. What do you think was meant by that? How did that go down?
Well, I think that's probably Sylvia Wood trying to say that she sees a different prime minister than the people who are voting in the preferred prime minister stakes in all these opinion polls. You know, you will have seen that it's basically neck and neck between Christopher Luxon and Chris Hipkins as far as preferred prime minister goes. And, you know, what we see, is, especially when you're traveling around with the Prime Minister, he's very good one-to-one. You know, when he's talking, it's pretty hard for his staff to get him out of an event because he just loves talking to people so much. But clearly that doesn't get across when he's speaking at a national level, perhaps through the media. And I think that was the point that the National Party president was trying to make, trying to tell voters that she sees a different Christopher Luxon than they do. And obviously that's a problem, because if he's not being able to get that impression through, something's going wrong. So they're going to have to look at that, whether they switch up his communication style. I mean, the Christopher Luxon, he communicates how he does. You know, Sylvia Wood recognises that he's businesslike, he is a businessman, and expects that he will thrive, especially if they can turn the economy around and get some recovery there, because he is such a outcomes-focused kind of guy.